Good morning, everybody. While my last character may not have been the absolute best thing I've ever played, my most recent one absolutely has. Now, I want to talk to you today about falconry. Falconry is a universal enhancement tree that pretty much anybody can use. It gives you wisdom to hit and damage, it scales off of assassinate DCs, and it gives you a special bird that has all sorts of cool attacks that can disable your foes. On top of that, it has a bunch of great passives, an action boost for run speed, extra hit points, physical resistance rating, healing amplification, helplessness damage. By golly, there's so many good things in this enhancement tree. And many people use it as a splash, maybe not going full into falconry, maybe not even using the bird attacks, but just picking up some of those things that I just mentioned. However, if you do go in for the bird attacks, usually you're a wisdom-based character, using wisdom to hit and damage, and on top of that, you're also somebody who can scale some of the assassinate DCs just by having virtue of the item slots free to get some assassinate DCs to use the different bird attacks. One of the reasons why you want to use the bird attacks is because they cause helplessness. There's a trip, there's a blind, and both of these attacks cause targets to become helpless and take additional damage, which is also where the helplessness damage in the tree comes in handy. So, how do you make a good falconer? And that's an actually incredible question because, honestly, there really is no perfect answer. The problem with falconry is that it has an incentive for you to use physical attacks, for you to use weapons. However, it doesn't give any critical profile adjustment with weapon types. And this is a big problem. If you play any amount of physical classes, you'll notice that in all the trees there's something that says bonus competence critical threat range, bonus competence critical threat multiplier. This competence critical threat range and multiplier, that's pretty much baseline on every single physical class, is essential to maxing out your damage since as you get higher in level, it's really important to have a very high amount of multipliers on your damage because linear scaling, it doesn't scale quite as well as the exponential scaling from critical hits. However, falconry, while it does give you cool attacks, it gives you melee and ranged power, hell, it even gives you hit chance, it doesn't actually give you anything crit related. And this is a problem. It makes it difficult for you to get it to work because especially if you want to say go to the tier 5 and get the instant kill attack, death from above, you have to give up on a lot of these really powerful abilities. Now that being said, there are some ways to avoid this. One way is to take 6 levels of fighter and use a weapon that has a high critical threat range in the first place, like a scimitar or a falchion. That way, once you actually go into the tree, you can still get the critical multiplier out of the fighter Kensai, and while you don't get the +1 range, your weapon is already a 15 to 20, so you're critically striking fairly regularly anyway. However, there is another way, and that is with universal enhancement trees. Now, some classes do get critical threat range and multiplier that isn't from the actual enhancement tree, like paladins get Holy Sword, or clerics get Holy Sword as well from the War Domain. You can actually use Inquisitive or Vistani Knife Fighter, since both Inquisitive and Vistani Knife Fighter get critical threat range and multiplier as their 4th core, or 21 points into the tree. That means with just 21 points spent in Vistani Knife Fighter, you can have your threat range and multiplier, and then still put all the rest of your points in falconry and do the big falconry things. The reason why you want to go tier 5 on falconry is because you get access to death from above, an instant kill attack, and the reason why you want to grab the capstone of falconry is because the actual death from above attack has a 1-minute cooldown, but with the capstone, every single time you use one of your other falconry attacks, it can actually reset the cooldown of death from above. Now that's what it says. It actually includes death from above itself, which means you can actually have death from above reset itself and just constantly stick your bird on people, instantly killing them. With this type of combination, you can create a character that has the critical threat range and multiplier, as well as having all of the good stuff out of falconry, which is exactly what I did. And so I have before you a Aasimar Scourge Ranger, who is being a wisdom-based inquisitive who's using falconry. Now, this character could get a lot more physical damage if I just decided to use the tier 5 of the inquisitive tree and the capstone, but I really wanted to test out and explore how good it could possibly be with the instant kills from death from above. And I gotta say, I was extremely impressed. One, it's always really fun to just whip an eagle at somebody and then have them just peck their eyes out and take them down in one hit. Very, very satisfying, and there's no range limit on it either, which means you can easily just target anybody at any distance, and the falcon will just swoop down and instantly kill them. Additionally, I was worried about how often the resets were going to happen. Turns out the resets actually happen pretty often. I had heard from some people that they almost never got their resets off. I found that it was about 4 falcon attacks before you got your reset back. Given that you have coordinated strike on a 25-second cooldown, diving attack on an 8-second cooldown, and go for the eyes on a 10-second cooldown, you can get this back fairly often, especially since it can reset itself. So as I said, it was about 4 attacks on average for it to reset, but sometimes you get lucky and just get chain resets and be able to just instantly kill people over and over and over. And for me, I had a ton of fun. It was also benefited by the fact that this character could easily go wisdom base, using wisdom to hit and damage out of the falconry tree to scale all the falconry stuff, because as a ranger, I didn't need that much dexterity because I got all the feats for free. And it's one of the reasons why I want to do this as a ranger backbone. Now, it was at some point during the creation of this character that I realized, hey, I'm going inquisitive and I have the ability to auto-detect traps. Why don't I put trapping into here? Which is when I started at level 16. Ideally, if you're going to be a trapping type character, you want to include trapping way earlier. Which is why when I recommend this build, and I'm going to give you a write-up, I will actually sprinkle in some of the levels I took earlier so that way you're not worried about when you're going to be able to use your trapping skills. Now the question is, would I recommend this? And my answer is yes. I actually had a ton of fun. Some of you might know, but I actually don't really enjoy ranged combat that much because of the desync, and also I just don't like the area of effect, the clear, and sometimes it just feels like you don't have a lot to do. But this character always has something to do. The falconry attacks can actually be used in the higher difficulties to be able to disable key monsters. You can blind reapers, causing them to be unable to cast spells. Coordinated attack is an area of effect blind, which blinds everything, and you really notice how valuable blindness is once you actually start using it here. Monsters that are blind swing in random directions, they can't cast any targeted spells, so no curses, no instant kills, nothing like that. No hold monster, because that monster is blind and doesn't know where you are. And so having just so many different buttons to press and things to do with my actual attacks felt great. Additionally, falconry can feel kind of slow with melee, since as a melee character, oftentimes the falconry attacks have a really bad animation. Especially with a two-handed weapon, you do this stupid big 360 swing, it takes like almost a second and a half to go through, so if you want to use any of your falconry attacks in melee, you feel really bad because it takes forever to get through. But as ranged, it's just another shot. So there's no goofy animation that wastes all your time. So instead, you just press the button, it does extra damage, the falcon does its thing, and it wastes 0 time. Absolutely 0 time wasted. So, for my money, I can't recommend Inquisitive Falconer enough. It was a lot of fun. Granted, as I said before, you would get more damage if you went Inquisitive, and you would lose some of the instant killing potential from Falconer, but I wanted to play as a Falconer with the instant kill, but if you did want to get more damage, just find an Inquisitive guide and follow that, as that would do more damage than this, but it wouldn't have the same character to it, and it wouldn't be as fun for me. Now, I'm sure some of you are curious about how to build this character, so I'm going to pass it over to me with the build. Flinging falcons and bolts at enemies, this character is sure to bring you a lot of joy if you love the idea of shooting people and also attacking people with birds. And to build it, this is how you do that. Today, we're playing as a ranger, artificer, rogue, Aasimar Scourge. Now, this is not the best and most organized way to do it, so the build that I will actually link will have the proper distribution of what levels you should get. However, still, it's not too bad. Basically, I realized halfway through the process that I should actually have Artificer and Rogue levels, because Artificers are great for playing as some type of Inquisitive, and also getting Rune Arms is just really nice. And then being able to do traps, I can already auto-search them, so why not? So we have a Wisdom-based character right here. Now, the way that this character works, I use Wisdom to hit and damage, so Dexterity, Constitution, Intelligence, these things are not nearly as important. As far as the skills go, of course, I'm a trapping character. Disable device. Search. Spot. Open lock. Use magic device. Oops, I don't have open lock. Something I learned this life. Turns out, if you actually have a tome in open lock, I think it's because I have the tome. I'm not sure what else would do this. This is somehow trained, and I can use it even though I never trained it. I don't know why, but I'm able to use this ability all the time, so it's really neat. So check that one out. But that's kind of where I'd put the skills. Outside of that, stuff that's nice for Ranger. Heal is, of course, very good. We're getting some free healing spell power. Swim is nice for swimming nice. And as I said, use Magic Device. I also have been doing this because I have actual extra skill points from Intelligence Tomes. I've been giving points in Perform. Perform is nice. Just gets you the ability to do the single Perform check in the quest Make Believe, which is not necessary, but it is nice to have. As far as the feats went, the reason why you want to have a lot of Ranger is because Rangers get all of the ranged feats that you want pretty much for free. You get Precise Shot, Rapid Shot, Improved Precise Shot, that's 3 big feats, for free at no cost. Which means you can use your feats on other stuff, and this character does. Point Blank Shot, Rapid Reload, Shot on the Run. These are great abilities, both giving you extra power or extra attack speed. Now, it's important to note, that this character made a mistake and is missing a feat because I had to take rapid reload, and then I didn't realize I was going to take artificer levels, and artificers get rapid reload for free. So you have an actual free feat in this character. I'll make sure the spot is labeled and give recommendations as to where I would take that early in the leveling process. Outside of that, you still want to take some martial feats, such as Precision and Improved Critical Range. Metamagic Quicken is just great for allowing you to quicken a whole bunch of different spells that you get. And I'll actually talk about spells in a bit, because there's a couple cool ones that you might not have seen before. I can help you out here. And then outside of that, as we move up to the epic version of this character, I grabbed epic damage reduction, overwhelming critical, pretty standard stuff. Double shot, because it's a lot of double shot. I picked Pierce, Adamantine, and Silver. One of the irritating parts about playing a ranged character that isn't a bow character, if you're an arcane archer, you just pick metal line arrows and you bypass all of it. But if you're not an arcane archer and you're a regular ranged weapon user, guess what? Adamantine and Silver, that's what you have to use here. And then for the legendary feat, Sign of the Ethereal Plane. Just goes without saying. Extra skills, which is useful for this character. Sneak attack dice. You can't go wrong here. Now, most of the spells are pretty straightforward. Ram's Might gives you damage. Cures give you cures. Freedom of movement gives you freedom of movement. You actually don't need this, but this is good for casting on other people. However, one I want to point out is Hold Animal. Now, most people don't really think a lot about this spell, but I want to make sure it's made aware of what this does. So it says an animal, magical beast, or vermin becomes paralyzed and freezes in place. It is aware, but can take no actions. So it's just like Hold Person, but on an animal. However, at the bottom, mindless targets cannot save, but the duration is halved. This means that anything that does not have a mind is an automatic fail. Mammals, they have minds. That doesn't count. But bugs do not. I'm talking about crayfish, scorpions, and spiders. Now, of course, demonic spiders and demonic scorpions have minds, so they don't count. But the non-demonic scorpions and non-demonic spiders, so just regular brown spiders, that sort of thing, crayfish in Feywild or in the new Saltmarsh area, those things have no will whatsoever, and they automatically fail their save. This means that you can throw this in R10 and just automatically go boom and grab them and just hold the monsters down. I use this a lot when I was playing through Saltmarsh earlier, as well as some other stuff in Epic Elite, where even though the save is only 39, it lands every time, and it's super useful to get something off your back. Now, as we move to the enhancement tree, this is the breakdown. This character is a falconer, as I said before, and the problem is falconers have this main issue where they just don't get critical threat range and multiplier. However, Inquisitive gets it here. Most classes and character races either get it all the way up here. If you're going to get critical multiplier, you get it right there, or you're going to get it here, but it's spread out. As an example, if I wanted to play this as a Tempest Ranger, I should have prepped this ahead of time. Tempest gets +1 multi here and +1 threat range here. That's 21 points and 21 points. 21 and 21 is a total of 42 points, plus Falconer's 41 is 83, and that's too many points. You can't actually get all of that, which means you're kind of limited. However, Inquisitive gets +1 to threat range of critical +1 critical threat range and multiplier with crossbows, light and heavy, and that's pretty cool. You could also do this instead if you wanted with a Vistani Knife Fighter. It'd be a very similar build. I just didn't want to play 3 melees in a row, and also I don't want to play Vistani. So this character is 41 points in Falconry, taking all the good stuff, getting Wisdom to hit and damage. Important note that Killer Instinct 1 gives you Wisdom to hit, Killer Instinct 2 gives you Wisdom to damage, but with Killer Instinct 2 also gives you Wisdom to hit. I don't know why, but it does, so it saves you 2 points. It's not necessary for this build, because you just take 2 points out of something down here and put it in here, but it's convenient for the leveling process. Now, the most important thing here is you only put 1 point in each of these attacks. Putting more points in gives you a little bit more damage when you press the button, but it's a very small amount more damage. It doesn't actually change the DC or the effect, which is what matters the most. Coordinated Shot is amazing. You're going to cast this all the time. This is going to be blinding full rooms. These 2 attacks, Go for the Eyes and Diving Attack, cause monsters to be helpless. This attack does not, but it doesn't matter because blinding a whole room is insanely useful. Spellcasters suddenly can't cast spells anymore. All the melee are swiping left and right and hitting random areas. So don't ever worry about how good or bad this is. Just Coordinated Shot on cooldown. You won't be upset with it. And then Death from Above Shot. This is an instant kill. Now, this has a 1-minute cooldown. It works pretty well, especially if you have the DCs. For the entire leveling process, it worked almost every single time. The only time it stopped working is when I decided to go into the Saltmarsh. That's when it started to slow down a little bit. But pre-Epic Elite Saltmarsh using level 15 gear, this character was working super well with Death from Above. However, it has a 1-minute cooldown to fix that. Once you get to level 20, you get Master Falconer. This makes it so all your attacks reset the cooldown of Death from Above, or at least they have a chance. And this happens all the time. I have heard some people say that it doesn't happen very often. I just leveled with it, and I went from 20 to 30. I'm telling you right now, it resets all the time. I would say it's almost like once in every 3 or 4 Falcon attacks, it resets the cooldown. On top of that, it can actually reset itself. So sometimes you will use the attack, and then it will reset itself, and its cooldown will be off right away. So just pay attention to that with Death from Above. It's very cool. One ability I don't take at all is Thrill of the Hunt. This ability is an attack that at the max level, it gives you a 15% heal on your hit points, so it heals you for 15% of your total health. The main issue with this is that while that is super duper cool, and I really genuinely do like that idea, I play Reaper mode, and in Reaper mode, this effect is useless. 15% of my health, yeah, I'm a ranger, and I'm a bow guy. I don't have, or a crossbow guy. I don't have a lot of health, so healing me for a percentage of my health isn't that great, and I can just straight up cast Cure and heal for more than whatever this would do. So sure, this doesn't cost spell points, and I can use it as an attack, but if this doesn't hit a target, and sometimes range desyncs, and when the range desync, your arrow goes nowhere, it also doesn't heal you. So 3 points for an inconsistent heal that's not very much? No thanks. So I don't take it. You may find this more useful, but I do not. I take the points in Asmar Scourge because Healing Hands is God tier if you're a Wisdom-based build. And then lastly, Inquisitive. It's pretty much just take all the good stuff. I didn't take any of the Diplomacy things here, like Improved Observation, because I don't cast Diplomacy ever. I didn't put any points into it, and I don't take Diplomatic Immunity, so it's not going to auto go off. You could manually hard cast Diplomacy and actually use these. I just didn't want to do that because I felt lazy. So instead I just took Shoot Later because this is an amazing attack, and you pair this up. You just use it in general because it's really good, but then you also pair this up with Hunt's End, which we'll talk about later, for incredible burst damage. And then I went all the way up here to get Undaunted because the amount of damage you get is phenomenal. And then my last few points that I had left over, 1 point in Deepwood Stalker gives 1 sneak attack dice and some extra range on all my sneak attacks as well as my point-blank shot range. Mechanic is the same thing. It just gives extra range on point-blank shot. It just means you can be a little bit farther away. And I had 1 point left over, so I took Renegade Defender. Now, of course, this character has a +1 racial tome and a what do you call it? A universal tome, and you may not have a racial and a universal tome. So if you don't have one, you can just block out the mechanic and the Renegade Mastermaker, just get rid of those. And then these points here, this is 80 points right here. Keep that in mind. And then lastly, let's take a look at the Epic Destiny. Now, I play in Shirati Champion. This character already has a lot of attacks and crowd control abilities that cause helplessness on targets. So I actually don't use Otto's Whistler and Pin, which I usually recommend. Instead, I take Stay Frosty to slow down targets as an imbue, so every time you shoot people, they have a chance to get slowed. And since you shoot so often, they get slowed all the time. I like using Healing Spring because it's an inconsistent heal. It heals you only every 20 seconds, but 20 seconds is frequent enough that every once in a while you're about to die, and now you're not because Healing Spring just procced. So I'm a big fan of Healing Spring. I like it a lot, and I grab the extra uses of Healing Spring, one from here and one from here, so I can cast it multiple times. Additionally, we got the Wisdom on this side, just because I don't want any of this nonsense. I grab the double shot here. Nerve Venom is completely overpowered. Stand and Deliver is very good. And then I use Hunt's End, because Hunt's End is a buff that is super good. Also, it says 24-second cooldown, and it has an 18-second cooldown. I'm pretty sure it was nerfed and is supposed to have a 24-second cooldown. It doesn't, so use this wisely. Important note that track here is something I would usually recommend, but because you're a falconer, falconers get an ability called Expose Weakness, which when you hit something with a bird, it reduces their fortification by 50%. And so since you're reducing the fortification of targets by 50% already, and then you have precision for 30%, or 25%, and the ship gives you 5%. I have no items that give me fortification penetration, and I'm at 80% right now. If I get anything that adds destruction, which you can easily get with this character, that brings you up to 100%. And if you get anything that gives you armor penetration, which is also easy to get, again, you're even higher. So track, while usually very good, I don't take it here. As far as my twists, Marshal Him because it's better than your capstone. Meld into Darkness to give you immunity to physical damage for 15 seconds. Rejuvenation Cocoon because it's a nice heal. And Stealthy because this gives you Assassinate DCs, which you actually need for all your Falcon attacks. As far as itemization goes, I just kind of threw on whatever. So I'm still wearing my level 15 gear here. Oh, this one's level 20. Prudent Cloak, Wisdom, Dodge. Main stats you're going to be focusing on during the leveling process. Wisdom, Constitution. You want some accuracy. If you can get Assassinate DCs anywhere, that's nice. Always try to carry a healing item. So this is an iconic, so started at 15. Hallowed Castigators are amazing for iconics because they give you devotion and healing lore and insightful sheltering. So it gives you all the healing you want and extra defense. Not too shabby. My weapon is just a Morning Lord's weapon. You get these for free out of the Ravenloft. from the guy. So get one of these. It's pretty good. And then, yeah, I don't really have anything special to say about this character. I mean, heck, I'm still using this item, Incandescent Bead. So this is actually, this doesn't even do stats, so I'm just going to delete that. Yeah, the gearing is pretty easy. As far as endgame gearing goes, this is a Wisdom crossbow, so you would probably just follow any Wisdom bow guide. Just be mindful, if you're following Wisdom bow build guides, they usually try to work in enchantment TCs, so it may not work perfectly. So it's probably closer to go with, like, a monk almost. Essentially, you want to grab the wall watch set, which is chest, helmet, gloves. You're going to want to watch the wall watch helmet that comes out of the raid, the helm of the final watcher. You want to get the wall watch bracers, the wildwood bracers here, the wrists. You're probably going to get the radiant ring of Tear Velastus as one of your artifacts, and get a good ass crossbow, and you should be pretty good here. That's how you build this character. If you want to have a character that's just like this, as I said, there'll be a link in the description to the proper leveling path that I think would work better than the one that I did, because I built this character as I went, and I realized that half of my build was wrong at level 15, which is not how you should do that. So be able to follow something down there. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. If you like what you saw, subscribe, like the video, and check out twitch.tv/Strimtom, where I use this character to disable all sorts of fun traps, discover the fun of falconry over and over again, and help lead my team to victory while making tons of mistakes along the way. It was a good time. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye. Au revoir. I'm going to disappear now. I'm going to fade away and disappear. Whoa. Oh, my green screen sucks. No.